appreciate Bante's kind remarks. When I first came to Singapore in 1987, the Buddhist library, which was 2 locations ago, was the first place I ever gave a Dharma talk in Singapore. Yeah, and so I remember Bante, Dharmatana from so many years and so much kindness, and how he, has gone to live in another country in order to spread the Dharma and to be here with all of you and teach you. And so that's quite a sacrifice, And over the years, what an important role the Buddhist library has played for the existence of Buddhism in Singapore. It's really quite something. So I have a special kind of fondness for the library in my heart. Like I said, it was the first place I ever gave a Dharma talk. Yeah, and you didn't throw tomatoes at me. So I always like to start things off with a little bit of meditation, so we can make the transition between running around all day and now doing something a little bit more serious. Okay, so sit up straight. And as we begin, just do a body scan and check and see if there's any tightness or tension in your body. And if there is, let it go. And then turn your attention specifically to the breath, observing your breath, either at your belly and watching the rise and fall of the breath, or at your upper lip and the nostrils, observing the sensation of the air as it goes in and out there. If you get distracted, just notice that. Don't criticize yourself. Don't make up a story. Just bring your focus, your mindfulness, your attention back home to the breath. And by keeping your mind on one object, in this case the breath, let the mind settle down. So we'll do this for a few minutes. And before we begin the Dharma talk, let's cultivate our motivation and have the aspiration to attain liberation and full awakening so that we can be of the greatest benefit to all living beings. So let's place what we're about to do, in sharing the Dharma together this evening, very firmly in the context of compassion and service to society. And so we will listen and discuss together this evening with a kind heart to help each other learn the Dharma and progress on the path. Okay, so our topic for this evening is religious fundamentalism. Okay, so I want you to all know that whatever I say is completely right and you're not to question it. So before coming up here, I was talking a little bit with the two Bunties about this topic. I wanted to pick their brains, so to speak, to get their ideas about it. And it came up that, this word fundamental can be and has been used in a variety of different ways. Yeah. So, for example, all of us, I think, want to practice the fundamental teachings of the Buddha. Yeah? In other words, the basic foundation teachings, the Dharma that the Buddha himself taught. Yeah, not something made up at all. And so in that way, it's fundamental. And Bhante Dhammika was commenting that at the beginning of the last century, there was a movement in some Western religions to go back to the fundamentals of the religion. Yeah, and that was a kind of fundamentalism, but it was basically just within one religion itself, or a branch of a religion, whatever it is, those people deciding that they wanted to go back to the fundamentals of their own tradition. Yeah. Nowadays, the word fundamentalism has really changed meanings, hasn't it? And it has very much nowadays the connotation of being close-minded, even violent, extreme. Yeah, doesn't it? Isn't, when you hear the word fundamentalism nowadays, that's the kind of connotation that we get. And it seems like almost every year fundamentalism becomes more fundamentalist. Yeah. And I've always thought that actually, all the fundamentalists in the world, they actually agree about a lot of things. And if you got them together, they would really agree, because each of them thinks my way is right and the others are wrong. Yeah, they all agree on that. Yeah, they just don't agree on which way it is, but they all say my way is right and the others are wrong. Yeah, everybody should do things my way. Other ways are not acceptable. Or at least this is the connotation of fundamentalism nowadays. You know, so I always thought if you could have had a worldwide conference of fundamentalists, they all, you know, their tactics, their way of approach, they would, you know, they could have breakout sessions and, you know, share their techniques, and they would all agree. Yeah? And, you know, nowadays, unfortunately, fundamentalism, at least in the U.S., is more associated with Islam. I don't know here if it's more associated with Christianity. I'm not really sure. But every country I go to, or every religious, you know, people of different religions that I speak to, every religion has its own group of fundamentalists. Yeah, when I taught in Israel some time ago, they, you know, had really very orthodox fundamentalist people. And I mean, I've met Buddhist fundamentalists also. Yeah, and actually quite a variety of Buddhist fundamentalists. Yeah, we have a whole variety. You know, there's the Lotus Sutra fundamentalists. Yeah, the people who say the Lotus Sutra is the only one correct sutra. It's the best sutra. Every other sutra is inferior, and you don't need to study it. And everybody should study the Lotus Sutra. Yeah, and it becomes very difficult to talk to these people sometimes because they can't hear about any other sutra but the Lotus Sutra. And then you meet other Buddhists that are kind of fundamentalists on one particular practice. Yeah, you've got to do this practice. And, you know, if you don't do it, you're wrong. Or fundamentalists even about how you teach a practice. Yeah, like, do you get shamatha first and then vipassana? Or do you actually realize vipassana first and then shamatha? And everybody has their own positions, and, you know, we stake out our territory. Yeah. I've even met, and these people are not necessarily Buddhist, but vegetarian fundamentalists. Yeah, born-again vegetarians. Yeah. And I'm a vegetarian, but boy, when I'm with born-again vegetarians, whew, you know, they're really too much sometimes. Yeah. And then some people are even more extreme than born-again vegetarians. Because we had one man who came to the Abbey, and, you know, the Abbey's always been vegetarian. But once in a while, we will have eggs. And he asked, are the eggs from chickens that are free range? And I said, no. And he got very upset. You know, you have to have, if you have eggs, they have to be free range chickens. And I said, we only accept the food that is given to us. We don't go out and buy food. And if people ask us what we want, we don't ask them for expensive food that they don't even buy for themselves. But he wouldn't take that as a good answer. Yeah. And he never came again, because once in a blue moon, we will eat eggs that are not from free-range chickens. Okay. Yeah. So